Right. Uh, what is networking, or how you want to define networking in your own words?
Um, I'd say exchange of information and the way of communication through the internet.
I'm asking networking, and you're using the word internet. What is, okay? What is internet then?
Internet.
Forget about internet. Collection of network is what internet. Now,
Yeah.
how do you define networking? Just think, the real world. You don't need to go like bookish, like definition with a book. Just think in your mind,
Connect,
whatever.
connecting people.
Very good. Good attempt. So, networking facilitates
Connecting. Yeah.
communication between people, not just connecting them, we communicate them. Why do we
Yeah.
connect? We communicate. Is that the only thing that we do in it?
We do file transfer.
Yeah. Then,
Uh, Video, audio.
yeah, audio streaming, video streaming. So we can simply say like we share resources. Like video is a resource. Someone
Mm-hmm.
is hosting it, and we are able to see it. So someone is hosting a forum, a page, and we are able to read it and learn some information from there. So
Mm-hmm.
sharing of data, not only just communication, we share data, we share resources. When we say share resources, it includes sharing files, PDF
Mm-hmm.
format, or document format, or video format, everything. All right.
Accessing resources from the servers.
Yes. Right. Anything else about networking? Networking is allowing you to communicate, share resources like printers,
Mm-hmm.
storage. Nowadays, everything is cloud based, right? So, when they say
Yeah.
cloud based, what they mean is we'll provide everything, you just use it.
Yes.
Like, you don't need to buy a computer, you need a thin client software with a thin hardware that's enough for you. All that you
Mm-hmm.
need to do is an internet connection so that you can get the cloud service. So everything they want to share with you, the storage, the memory, the CPU, and all services like mail service, database service, every service they want to provide you for rent. You don't need to buy anything of your own.
Mm-hmm.
So a pool of resource is being shared to millions of people. That's what we call it as cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So in cloud also we have cloud computing, cloud networking.
Cloud
Now,
storage.
yeah. So meaning they share the network resource, so you call cloud networking. When
Mm-hmm.
they share the storage, then you call cloud storage.
Mm-hmm.
So cloud computing, meaning you need a big server. You don't need to buy a server. You can rent a server. With your
Mm-hmm.
small laptop, you can log into a big server somewhere in the globe. We call it as cloud computing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can choose what operating system you want in that server, what processor they should provide you, how many GB of RAM it should have. Everything you just pick in the catalog that they provide you online catalog, and they say, okay, for this per second or per minute we will charge this much. And
Mm-hmm.
if you say yes, I'm okay with that. If they say for a minute we'll charge 10 rupees, all right. If I'm convinced, if I'm okay, then I say deploy, And immediately it says, give me your credit card information. You put all those information. And then from that time, second onwards, the meter starts. And you have a server now. Exactly the same configuration that you mentioned. Same processor. If you say, I want Xeon processor, I want 16 GB RAM, or 64 GB RAM, or 512 GB RAM, anything that you ask for. And I want Windows 2008 operating system, server, anything, whatever you say, will be deployed in few minutes, and it will be ready for you to use. So this cloud computing, all these are, the next generation networking that we are talking about. But CCNA is not focusing on none of this. We are just talking about what is networking. Networking is connection between devices, either physically or wirelessly, in order to communicate, in order to share resources, um, and that's it. Likewise, example, bank transfer, um, uh, video on demand, and online library, blah blah blah, lot of things. Nowadays people work from home, so that is also a network service, a
Yeah.
VPN service. So that's what networking is. It's not just interconnection of device. The purpose is to communicate, share resources. That is what. Right. Now, if you see the history, how the network has grown step by step. Once upon a time, they had a device called amplifier. This was the very first network device, amplifier. You read about this?
Yes, I have read about it very long time ago.
Okay. So the drawback of this is it cannot amplify uh, the data alone. It also amplifies the
The
noise.
noise.
That's the problem with this. So then came what? Repeater. What is repeater?
Repeater does the same thing like amplifier, but um,
Regenerates only the signal, only the
yeah.
data. It can. It has that. It has the knowledge of filtering out the
Nice.
noise. Yeah. Right. So after repeater comes the hub. Why? The problem with repeater is it is only two port. Repeater has got only two ports. So if I want to connect third device, there is no possibility. Only two devices can be connected. It can regenerate the signal. It can regenerate the weaker signal so that long distance data can travel. But the problem is that the devices that participate cannot be more than two. So they came up with this new device called hub, which is 8 port only. Hub is only 8 port. Why?
Okay.
Why hub is only 8 port? Hub is actually a repeater, regenerates only the signal, but it's a multi-port repeater.
Okay.
That's why we call it as hub. It's a hub, meaning it connects many. How many? It connects 8. It acts as a hub for 8 devices. So these 8 devices can be really far away so that the signal, if it comes weak, it can regenerate. Hub is a multi-port repeater.
Mm-hmm.
But the maximum number of port the hub can support is only 8. Do you know the reason? Why
It
hub
has
can? Hmm,
single broadcast domain
very good. It has got very good. Oh, continue. It has got one broadcast
uh,
domain.
and one collision domain.
Very nice. One collision domain. So when you have a device with just one broadcast domain and one collision domain,
Mm-hmm.
see this one broadcast domain is also okay. But when you have only one collision domain,
Mm-hmm.
it is very difficult to control the collision.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, you cannot have more devices. If you keep adding more devices,
Mm-hmm.
controlling the collision will be very difficult because you got only one collision controller. The domain, you can interchange the word domain with the word controller. The
Okay.
collision controller is only one. Broadcast controller is also one. Collision controller is also only one. If you have only one teacher in a class,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot have too many students. There's a
Mm-hmm.
limit, especially if it is an LKG finish. If you
Mm-hmm.
give a teacher 12 people in a class, she can manage somehow because the LKG student they cry a lot first few
Mm-hmm.
days, and this poor teacher will go mad if everyone cries at the same time. And you
Yep.
cannot add 50 students. She cannot tolerate.
Yep.
So
So how would you define a broadcast domain and collision domain, sir?
very nice question. See, it's not a big definition. As I said,
Mm-hmm.
just remove this word domain
Mm-hmm.
and put the word controller, you will understand the meaning of it. In order
Mm-hmm.
to control the collision, inside the hub, there is only
Mm-hmm.
one logical circuit.
Mm-hmm.
That circuit needs to take responsibility of avoiding collision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm asking you one question. If you want to um, control that classroom of 50 students, 50 LKG students, what you will
Mm-hmm.
do?
We'll add more teachers.
Yes, exactly. But hub has got no option,
Mm-hmm.
only one collision domain. So,
Okay.
number of ports cannot be more than 8. If you have more ports, you will connect more device.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more device, because there is only one broadcast domain, meaning
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because they're all in same group. One broadcast domain means what? All the devices that connects to this box belongs to a single group.
Okay. So whenever a packet comes in, it will be transferred to all the interfaces, right?
Correct. It will be switched to every device
Mm-hmm.
that is participating in this broadcast domain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if everyone sends packet to all the time,
Mm-hmm.
the volume of traffic that the device need to handle is going higher when you keep adding more device.
Mm-hmm.
And after a point of time, the hub cannot tolerate anymore and it'll stop functioning. To avoid that,
Mm-hmm.
as per the standard, Hubs are limited to 8 ports.
Okay.
So when it is 8 port, no much broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
so no much to control collision. The collision is under control. Then
Mm-hmm.
one teacher can manage.
Mm-hmm.
But when you keep adding more than 8,
Mm-hmm.
the teacher will resign the job. Yeah, the device will stop functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot have more than 8 port. So
Okay.
broadcast domain. How do you define broadcast domain? Those ports that are under single control,
So,
single
control.
controller, under single controller. Those
Mm-hmm.
ports that are controlled by a single chip.
Mm-hmm.
It is same like what you have in our, you might have seen in college books like bus topology.
Yeah.
This is what exactly you will have inside the hub,
Mm-hmm.
logically. This is physical hub, sorry, this is
Mm-hmm.
physical bus topology where you
Mm-hmm.
tap and you connect devices like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is physical bus topology. Same like this is what exactly we'll have in the hub logically. You see, this backbone, this
Mm-hmm.
wire, this is what the broadcast domain. Anything touches this port, this wire goes to everyone who is tapped into the wire.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same wire which is also responsible to manage collusion.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an alternate path. You said, when I asked you a question, if there is 50 students in LKG, what you will do to control children? You said you will employ more students, sorry, more
Mm-hmm.
teachers.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not an option here. If it is a switch, you have more teachers. How? You can have a separate connection to this and this, separate
Yeah.
connection to this and this, separate connection to this and this. So now there is no collision. If A wants
Mm-hmm.
to talk to B, it takes a separate path.
Separate path.
If A wants to go to C, it takes a separate path. So each port has got a collision domain in switch. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Each port can have its own path to reach all other ports.
Mm-hmm.
That avoids collision. That's why collision domain, collision controller. What
Mm-hmm.
avoids collision? Learning MAC address on each port. Learning MAC address on each port. That
Mm-hmm.
helps to have a dedicated path instead of using this one common backbone. Helps to
Mm-hmm.
avoid collision. So the problem with hub is it has got only one collision domain and one broadcast domain. That is the reason why we need
Switch.
a switch. Switch. Before switch came bridge.
Yeah.
This bridge is a software device. Bridge is a software device,
Mm-hmm.
but clever than hub.
Mm-hmm.
Bridges, as you said, it can learn MAC address by listening, and every port of a bridge have a collision domain. So if I have 24 port, then 24 collision domain
Mm-hmm.
and one broadcast domain by default.
Mm-hmm.
And this bridge can do everything a switch can do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a software device.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a software device, it can Maximum support, like theoretically, like 25 ports, they say. So they came up with a hardware-based device, which is switch.
Switch.
Switch is also a bridge, but switch is a hardware-based device. Bridges learn MAC address. Bridges move the packet based on the MAC address, destination MAC address. Bridges will broadcast the packet if the destination is unknown. All
Mm-hmm.
these points are similar with switch. Switch also
Mm-hmm.
will broadcast if the destination is unknown, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So when everything is similar, the only difference is hardware-based device. Now, what is the meaning of hardware-based device and software-based device?
So switch is a physical device, and bridge we can install in a device. It's not a like a physical device.
Who told you
Meaning,
this? Who told you this? Your professor?
no, no, no. I just guessed.
Okay, this is really interesting. But most of the people say the same answer. I don't know how
Uh huh.
the frequency works from Australia to US. Same frequency. Now, you see, switches are same like bridges in appearance.
Mm-hmm.
When you see switch and bridge, you will not see big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, you can see both a rectangular box with ports. A big switch
Okay.
may have more ports. A small switch will be same like a bridge only. So
Okay.
you will not find any difference outside.
Mm-hmm.
Then why bridge is called software-based device if it is a hardware? Bridge is also a hardware like switch, physical box. You can touch.
Okay.
You have ports. You can connect the cables.
Mm-hmm.
But bridge is a software-based device. Switch is a hardware-based device. And now, um, you might have read news 2 days back. I forgot, but in US only, from one town to another town, an
Mm-hmm.
aeroplane was flying. These two guys, the first officer and the and the captain,
Mm-hmm.
both slept, and they're supposed to land the flight,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not landing it because they're sleeping. The autopilot cannot land a flight. Autopilot can go
Mm-hmm.
only to the destination. The people who is in the cockpit only responsible to land and take off. And these people from the ground, they are shouting,
Mm-hmm.
land it. It's time to land it. Bring down to this many kilometers. Nothing they do, no response.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a warning system. They gave some alarm and they may wake them up from the sleep, both
Mm-hmm.
of them. At last they landed.
Okay.
Now, why I'm saying this? Early days, pilots were not sleeping
Mm-hmm.
because there was no autopilot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But today you have autopilot and pilot sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
Today you have a software-based device,
Mm-hmm.
software-based cockpit
Mm-hmm.
in a plane. Earlier it was hardware based corporate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you understand now? What is software based and what is hardware based?
So hardware is as that we physically do something, and software is a script that helps like
Okay, I appreciate. Now you see, both switches and bridges have got software in it.
mm-hmm,
But still, switch is a hardware based device, bridge is a software based device. See, olden days, HMT watch in India, it's
mm-hmm,
a hardware based watch. But today,
okay,
Titan is a software based watch.
mm-hmm,
Both have got the dial, both have got the needle, both the clock ticks. But the olden day watch you call it as hardware based, and today's watch you call it as software based. Why? Because in
mm-hmm,
the olden days watch, it was the hardware which makes the needles,
mm-hmm,
the pulleys inside to move.
mm-hmm,
That's how it was showing watch time.
mm-hmm.
But
Yep,
today, the pulleys are driven by the electrical motherboard and the battery.
okay,
But that electrical motherboard to function, a software is involved, right?
mm-hmm,
Even though it has got a hardware, today's watch have got pulleys and the three needles, the little hand and the big hand and the seconds.
mm-hmm,
But what drives those needles? It is the motherboard and the software in the motherboard and the battery
mm-hmm,
which gives power. The
mm-hmm,
battery and the software.
mm-hmm,
Likewise, these bridges, even though it looks like a hardware with a motherboard inside, there's a motherboard inside.
mm-hmm,
If you take switch also, it will be same like this, a motherboard inside. Bridge and switch, they look alike, but inside, to
mm-hmm,
to switch the packets, to learn the MAC address, to forward the packet, to filter the packet, to take decision in forwarding the packet. The software, the operating system uses that motherboard processor and the RAM to do all functions. Repeating again, to do all functions, layer 2 functions.
mm-hmm,
It was only the operating system which was responsible. And the operating system runs on this motherboard with the processor and the RAM.
mm-hmm.
One operating system, one software, one operating system, which is responsible for all switch functions.
Okay,
All switch functionality like listening, learning, um, forwarding traffic based on the destination MAC address, flooding the traffic if the destination is unknown, filtering the traffic if the source and destination are on the same port. All these decisions were made only by that one software, the operating system that run on this box. Whereas
mm-hmm,
on the switches, you have software, we do have operating system, we do have processor, we do have RAM. Additionally, we got additional hardwares which is missing in the bridge called ASIC.
mm-hmm,
These chips, ASIC chips,
Mm-hmm.
More you have, more costly is the switch because they can handle more throughput, more traffic. They will support more ports, more traffics.
Mm-hmm.
This is like an additional processor which can share the load so that the switch can accommodate more devices, more traffics, more throughput. Is it clear?
Okay. Okay.
This ASIC is what makes this device to be called as a switch, a different name, a hardware based device.
Mm-hmm.
Without ASIC, it is only one processor, and the entire load is on that processor and that software alone to take care of all layers of functionality. Whereas in the switch, the ASIC chip in a hardware level, they maintain the the forwarding decisions are stored. They are taken care by ASIC. The learning process is taken care by ASIC, and a very important function will be, through the central processor. Most of the
Mm-hmm.
functions are taken care by this ASIC chip. If you have every port on a switch with a
It's a
dedicated,
physical chip.
yeah, physical chip on the
Okay.
motherboard.
Okay.
It's a physical chip on the motherboard,
Mm-hmm.
and this chip, ASIC chip, more you
Mm-hmm.
have, more costly the device. See, outwardly the switch will look same,
Mm-hmm.
but this is 5 rupee, that is 50 rupee. Two
Okay.
box looks same, both the box have got same number of port, but this box is 5 rupee, that box is 50 rupee. It is because in this switch, 5 rupee switch, there is only one ASIC chip
Mm-hmm.
along with the motherboard processor. The ASIC chip is only one. So compared to bridge, it is better,
Mm-hmm.
but not too many helpers, only one helper.
Okay.
But the 50 rupee switch has got more ASIC,
Mm-hmm.
so there is more people to work, so more traffic can be handled by the switch, which has got more ASIC. So in
Okay.
switch itself, you have various size.
Mm-hmm.
How one switch is slower than the other, or how one switch is faster than the other, because they got more ASIC chip.
Okay.
All right, fine. So